Miscommunication in its purest form, both purposeful omission and complete misunderstanding. Today we're going to be doing a review and retrospective of one of my favorite shoujo romance series that just also happens to be gay. My Love Mix-Up. Yes, I did purposely move it here for this reason. This is the love story of Aoki and Ida, of which I will explain in depth. But I first want to tell you the physical qualities of the manga itself and my original first thoughts of the series. Hello everybody, my name is Brooklyn, otherwise known as TheDramaticOtaku, and welcome to my video essay on one of my favorite romance series, My Love Mix-Up. I almost forgot the title then. This series is, as I said, one of my favorite shoujo romances as well as BL series, and today I will be going through the story chapter by chapter, volume by volume, and going into depth on characters and analysing how My Love Mix-Up is such an effective shoujo romance that just happens to be gay as well. Pretty much think of this video as a mecha recommendation of why I think you should read My Love Mix-Up while also containing extreme spoilers for the series. But before we recap the series, let's just give you a small taste of my thoughts and opinions on this series. First of all, this is a shoujo beat romance title, not immediately sold as BL, despite the fact that it does technically fall into that category. The first thing you will notice when picking up this series is the shoujo beat tag on the top of every single volume, as well as the big Viz logo, not really focusing on the fact that half the time the character on the side is Aoki. You'd think that he'd be the love interest and not the protagonist. This overall doesn't immediately scream BL. It screams romance. This series, when I started it, was a pleasant surprise, being way funnier than I initially thought it was going to be, and providing lots of laughs on top of heart-stopping moments. And with it reaching the #1 position on my Otaku review last year, as well as being a completed series, it is something that I can put my full stamp of approval on as something many of you will love if you're a fan of shoujo romance, hilarious rom-coms, and to a lesser extent, queer romances. Now, notice that I didn't say BL. It is important when taking this book into consideration that it doesn't read as BL, but rather as a classical shoujo romance. Usually, BL series such as Given or Escape Journey are put into the BL category without a demographic. It's not the only category that doesn't have a demographic, but this specifically, when it comes to BL, usually you don't have a demographic that comes along with it. My Love Mix-Up is the first BL that I have seen that comes with a demographic, specifically being shoujo. And that is the thing that interests me the most, was how a BL made its way under the shoujo tag. But after reading it, truly I can say that this is just a shoujo romance that just also so happens to be queer. Queerness is a second to the actual romance, and that is something that I love in this series, which sounds pretty weird because I'm a queer person. Genuinely, so many other series in different demographics that are queer, such as Yuri circles, they have really good queer romance that isn't super fetishized, that feels like a shoujo romance, that feels like it belongs in the true romance category, much like My Love Mix-Up. And I guess that specifically has worked before in the case of Yuri, because it is directly aimed towards women, so it has the excuse that it can be a shoujo romance. But to see two queer men, because it's literally never brought up their sexuality, so for all I know, they could both be bi, or they could both be fully gay, though with inference, Aoki is clearly bisexual. But anyway, to see two queer men have a cute, fluffy romance on par with either a conventional shoujo or a yuri manga is quite literally everything I have ever wanted. This is the kind of story that women and queer people want when they fucking read BL. It's me. I'm queer women. I am the one who wants more series like this. And on top of that, it's also a mostly healthy romantic relationship. I say mostly because Aoki is a fucking handful. And the story literally preaches about good communication in relationships. It took the miscommunication trope and made it a message on why good communication in your relationship is important. And it was done with a queer couple. That is something that I can't get over and that I love, and like, because miscommunication in shoujo like this, which is sucks, but to see like such a good flip on its head of the miscommunication trope, truly I recommend this for people who are skeptical of BL. It's really good at not reading like a conventional BL and isn't actually a story about sexuality, but rather loving someone regardless of gender and working out how to approach your romantic relationship for the first time. And of course, with it being an MLM couple, there's a little discourse around gender and sexuality, but it's mostly internalized by Aoki and regards mostly off-screen characters, not like their actual relationship. And if you're not sure how to approach reading the manga, then I would actually recommend the live action drama based off of the series. It follows the manga surprisingly closely well, at least within like the first 4 or 5 volumes. I have a whole review segment of that in the wee wrap-up, so I won't talk you off about that. And yes, I do want an anime adaptation of this fucking series! In terms of the art style, I really love how the art is really light while also having a lot of detail, and practically every page is a new gag that hits about 8 out of 10 times. Aoki is the one who gets the brunt of these panels, with him distorting in some way. Then followed by Hashimoto and Ida getting the least, but getting more towards the end of the series. But a wonderful mangaka not only knows comedy, but knows how to make your heartstrings flutter, as there are plenty of romantic moments, especially within the details of the covers, especially with the art on the covers, as well as small but important moments between Aoki and Ida that just make the story 10 times better. Is it the top of all tops of romance manga? Not necessarily, as I feel like there are some series that surpass My Love Mix-Up in fluff and romantic quality, but the combination of rom-com plus the message of good communication in a genre strife of the miscommunication trope that drives me up the wall and makes me want to slam my head into the ceiling, all in a queer romance at that, is honestly, personally phenomenal. Now, of course, before we begin, a couple of disclaimers. There will be spoilers for My Love Mix-Up in this video. Obviously, I am recapping the entire series chapter by chapter, volume by volume. I'm going to try and abbreviate and summarize the plot of each chapter to leave it vague but clear enough that you understand the plot and what's going on. I want you guys to leave this video understanding the series and my thoughts and feelings on it, while also not spoiling too much of the series itself in terms of like the romantic moments and getting the gushy feels and the ooh, where did this hit like that, stuff like that. I'm going to summarize each volume chapter by chapter, then once hitting the end of a volume, making my opinion on the respective volume as a whole, because each volume kind of needs to be talked about like this and have its own special little opinion before I talk about the entire series as a whole, because there are volumes that I just don't talk about when summarizing the entire series and talking about the goods and the bads of the entire series. I mainly talk about between volumes 3, 5, 7, and I think 6 as well. Those are the main ones that I talk about, so I missed quite a few volumes, so each volume needs their own love. Also, seeing as I bought it and consumed the series with 1 to 2 month gaps in between. This also, as a disclaimer, is my second read of the entire series as a whole, but third or even fourth read of the first few volumes. So I feel like it's important to document my initial feelings volume by volume versus how I feel about it now. I'll be going back into all of my old wee wrap-ups and getting my opinions on all of these volumes, but obviously they'll be more biased as the series goes along. And I'm doing this because I'm assuming, unless you're just a mega fan of the series, this will be your first exploration into My Love Mix-Up, and rereading the series is totally fucking different from reading the series for the first time or reading the series volume by volume with major month-long to 2 month-long gaps in between. That being said, spoilers ahead, and let's get started. But, before we begin, we must talk about our 4 protagonists, or 4 main characters, starting with our protagonist, Sota Aoki, one who's clumsy and easy to fall in love with enough words of affirmation. He's usually the butt of every joke, but it works in his favor. It works in his favor, especially with the physical humor of the art itself. He himself is selfless to a fault, but he's just all around fun to read and live the world from his perspective.
Kosuke Ida, the unintentional love interest. Ida is very honest, mainly because he often doesn't know how to approach things, as he's more socially awkward than one would immediately think. I can also see why Aoki falls head over heels for him. He's honest, caring, loves animals, and he's just overall adorable. And I love how he's a bit confused, but is just rolling with everything.
Next would be the catalyst to the entire series, but also our love rival, Mio Hashimoto. Our love rival to Aoki, who also happens to be Aoki's crush and Aoki's biggest cheerleader in love? Hashimoto is truly the well-meaning bestie. She's very easily flustered, but she is really strong mentally, pushing herself when she sees Aoki and what Aoki is doing for her, being motivated by Aoki, who's motivated by her. Hashimoto is a bit of an angel in Aoki's eyes, and being the catalyst for the entire story, she tends to keep her romantic life in the clouds. She's also the type to be majorly cute and wholesome on the outside, but if you piss her off, you'll be running for the hills. Next is Akun, Aoki's best friend. For the start of the story, he's more of a mob-like comedic character and isn't involved in the main love triangle. He's very laid back and always somehow just misses the mark for his outlandish theories, but I will also put a disclaimer here that he turns into my most disliked character. Admittedly, upon second read, he is just an idiot, and while he does come close to figuring shit out, he never is quite successful, which does make the story really fun. I just don't like him, and you will see that reflected in the rest of this video. That being said, now that you've met our characters, let's just jump into the story. Volume 1, Chapter 1. Starting during the middle of a test, Aoki, our protagonist, has left his eraser at home and is in need of one for the test. He asks his friend Akun, to which he brushed off, when the girl in the seat next to him, Hashimoto, offers her extra eraser to him. He gladly takes it, having been charmed by Hashimoto and having a massive crush on her, until he takes off the sleeve of the eraser and sees Ida written with a heart next to it. Suddenly comes to the conclusion that Hashimoto has a crush on Ida, the guy sitting in front of him, who at this current point in time is handing him a test sheet for class. When he knocks over the eraser out of panic, Ida picks it up and sees what is written on the eraser. Chaos ensues as Aoki has to let Ida know it's a mistake without letting Ida know Hashimoto has a crush on him. While Aoki is depressed about Hashimoto having a crush on someone else, Ida is freaking out that the first person to like him is a guy, completely mistaking the situation. They meet on the roof at lunch to talk things out, with Aoki making a heartfelt confession about his love of Hashimoto to Ida. Ida thinking this is love about him. The chapter ending with Aoki punching Ida for the entire misunderstanding, but not clearing things up for the sake of Hashimoto. Chapter 2. Still reeling from the events of chapter 1, Aoki goes to wallow in his shame on the roof when a seagull snatches his sandwich, which he then tries to chase after on the railing of the roof. Ida then catches him and begs him not to jump, which Ida and Aoki dive then into a conversation about how Ida has been watching Aoki since his confession, noticing that Aoki is depressed, thinking it's about Ida dumping him. In this conversation, Ida admits that he doesn't know what it feels like to like someone, and Aoki is trying to figure out if Hashimoto is Ida's type. The conversation ends with Ida making the declaration that he wants to give Aoki a proper answer, for them to start as friends and for Aoki to wait for him. The rest of the chapter continues with Aoki trying to figure out what the fuck to do, and when he gets into a conversation with Ida and Hashimoto, trying his hardest to get the two together and avoid Ida at the same time. Listening to Hashimoto's gripe about being in love with Ida, and scene switching to Akun being chased down and listening to Ida's gripes with Aoki. Chapter 3. The chapter opens with Aoki attempting to confess to Hashimoto, only thwarted by Hashimoto assuming that he's talking to her about his crush, crushing his courage. We then switch to the planning for the upcoming cultural festival, in which Aoki's class has decided to perform a rendition of Cinderella. Completely disinterested in the play, Aoki is still moping about how Hashimoto's crush is not him and tries to make excuses to get Hashimoto and Ida together in the same room, or on talking grounds at least, but somehow managed to find himself working with Hashimoto instead, having sent Akun and Ida out together by accident. When disaster strikes, Aoki's clumsy dumbass knocks over a paint can and destroys a piece they were using for the play. Ida and Akun just happen to come back at this time, and Ida suggests the four of them work on it together and fix it. Aoki finding himself singing his praises. Once the work is done, it's time for all of them to head home, and it just so happens that Ida goes home the same way that Aoki does. And on their short walk together, they get into a conversation about the day's work and complimenting each other on each other's work ethic, but in a more human way than I just described it, leaving Aoki blushing and running from Ida, unsure about how Ida makes him really feel while still trying to get Hashimoto and Ida together. Chapter 4. It's the day of the cultural festival and Aoki is in a mood, still reeling from Ida's word, making his heart pound. And remember that play from before? Well, both leads are out sick. Ida is asked to play the prince in the male lead stead, and Hashimoto is asked to be Cinderella. Only Hashimoto has terrible stage fright. And Aoki has volunteered to be Cinderella, so Hashimoto isn't stressed. The play begins, and Aoki is super flustered by the suave Ida, and once again his kind words when he literally falls right into Ida's arms. Aoki of course flails and runs off stage, and the next page we are met with after the performance. Amused by Aoki and fangirling around Ida, everyone is taking photos when Hashimoto approaches Aoki, thanking him for helping but declaring that she will be more proactive on confronting her crush, which kind of bums Aoki, as no matter what way he looks, all he can see is Ida and Hashimoto together, and he's not sure which one he's even jealous of anymore. Chapter 5, last chapter of Volume 1. It's after the cultural festival and class is having an after party celebrating the cultural festival and its success, and love is in the air. Everyone can see it, and Akun observes in his very observant brain, irony, foreshadowing, Ida and Hashimoto are way closer than normal, and this puts Aoki in a spin. He thought he was supposed to be on Hashimoto's side, but now he's super jealous. On top of feeling it, Aoki gets teased by his classmates for his performance, joking that Aoki is in love with Ida, to which he rightfully freaks out about. Ida defends him, and Aoki, to keep up appearances, jokes it off, but comes to the realization that only him and Ida would have taken that joke seriously. He then nearly gets hit by a train, moping about it. He is, however, saved by Hashimoto stopping him from walking onto the tracks, accidentally. They end up getting into a conversation and Aoki confesses that he may have a crush on Hashimoto's crush, Ida. Wait, not Ida? Who's Ida? So this being my second proper read of My Love Mix-Up, I completely forgot some of the events and scenes within the novel, like Aoki being made fun of because of the festival, or that the festival was even in the first volume alone, let alone the Cinderella stuff. I thought that was all in like later volumes. This one was fine. It sets up the plot itself and truly is a standard start to any shoujo romance. Boy falls in love with boy, but doesn't realize he's falling until the last chapter. The thing that really sets it apart from most series is the major amount of physical comedy at the expenses of our protagonist, which the series itself really sets itself apart because it's practically only him that's getting these comedic scenes, and it's practically every single page rather than once in a while or every other page, as well as the fact that it is gay. I also really love how the possible romance between Hashimoto and Ida ends within one volume, eliminating any love triangle shenanigans, because I fucking hate love triangles. A device and romance that I hate with a passion, especially when it is a possible queer love story. I am looking at you, blue flag. My favourite chapter from this was chapter 5. Volume 2, chapter 6. So we finally elaborate the mix-up of who Hashimoto's crush is. It's not Ida, it's Akun, otherwise known as Hayato Ida. Turns out the rubber had done its job and rubbed out the A in Akun's name. So Aoki is here, an idiot, both in love and literally he needs tutoring. Just so happens Ida is very good at sciences and is willing to help Aoki and Akun and Hashimoto. It's a study group, all at Ida's house. Akun confronts Hashimoto about who her crush is, his theory on it being Ida being shot down, but Hashimoto not having the guts to yet confess, which then leads Akun and Hashimoto to leave Ida's house, leaving Ida and Aoki alone to talk about Aoki's confession to Ida, which is now valid since he does actually now have feelings for Ida. And Ida lets Aoki know that he can't stop thinking about him. Ida never really had a first love. He doesn't know what it feels like, and Aoki is the first person to ever confess to him on top of that. He really doesn't know how to feel, other than restless. Also, Ida has a dog named Momotaro who hates Aoki. He appears quite a lot. Chapter 7. Starting in Ida's perspective, Gay Crisis. We open on Ida's perspective for once, and we get to hear vaguely his thoughts on Aoki before Aoki appears in and is his reactive self. Ida and Ida end up talking to each other alone and talk about Aoki when Ida starts piecing together things about Ida and Aoki's potential relationship. Ida rushes to let Aoki know of his discovery, only for Aoki to blurt out the entire story of chapter 1, minus Hashimoto's involvement. Ida then suggests coming clean to Ida and dragging Aoki then to do so. So he does, and he plays it off as him being stressed. But of course, Aoki now actually has a crush on Ida, and is heartbroken and fearful that his feelings will not truly be taken seriously by Ida. So he goes to Hashimoto, claiming that he is trash. Somehow he managed to accidentally confess to her, to which she then turns him down. But it's alright because he already moved on and is heartbroken by Ida, to which he proclaims he's going to leave to the mountains to live in solitude, and runs off, leaving Hashimoto to run off behind him and run directly into Ida, who acts like a total ass and thinks Aoki should get over the whole Ida scenario. He does not know that Aoki actually likes Ida at this point, and as a response, we see Hashimoto's full strength. love her. Chapter 8. Picking up where we left off, Ida's in trouble. He's confused as to why the fuck he was just punched and is trying to figure it out. Cut back to Aoki in agony that his love is continuing despite him really trying to distance himself from Ida both physically and mentally. But Ida just keeps being too nice to him, and don't think Akun doesn't see Aoki's moping. So he goes to confront Hashimoto and figure out in all his wisdom why Aoki is so glum and why Hashimoto slapped him in the first place. And after a couple of rough guesses, Akun gets it and goes to comfort his friend and make things right. Chapter 9. A full chapter from Ida's perspective. We initially open to Aoki and Ida talking about Aoki's very real crush, and Ida offers to set Aoki up on a group date to forget about Ida. We then cut to Ida at volleyball practice, a little out of it because he's still thinking about Aoki's confession and is as confused as ever. When he asked for assistance from his group members, excluding the fact that Aoki confessed, the team members suggest he goes on a group date, which Aoki just happens to be on. This group date happens to be with girls from another school, and one of them takes a real liking to Ida. Her name is Kokoro. So much so that after the date she continues to keep in touch with him and then asks him out, to which he then quickly realizes that she is actually in love with someone else and asks him out to cope. Giving her some advice that her feelings are justified, she also can tell he's in love with someone else, which stuns him. She sends him off with a smile and with luck in his love, which again stuns him, and he just so happens to run into Aoki on the train. The chapter ending with Aoki falling asleep on Ida's shoulder and Ida feeling self-conscious around him. Volume 2 truly kicked up a notch as to what Volume 1 was giving us. I honestly love this volume a lot more than Volume 1, in part because I've actually read Volume 1 about 3 or 4 times, but also because this volume is just more comedic than Volume 1. It's nice to see that our protagonist be softer and realize he's in love with Ida, while also being in agony that he did in fact lie to the man about their relationship, or rather his crush initially. It's completely different scenario-wise now. Chapter-wise, Chapter 8 is probably my favorite chapter just for the Aoki and Hashimoto interactions. I love them developing into a proper friendship in this volume, other than I'm helping you with your crush. And that bonding is honestly super cute. Bestie Hashimoto for the win. Also, I too am falling head over heels for Ida, because for the comparatively short amount of time that he's in the volume, he has some really, really sweet moments and some really funny ones too. Also, I just don't like Akun as a character. He's supposed to be the straight man to Aoki's shenanigans, pun not intended, but when they're both idiots, it just kind of comes across with him being an asshole, especially since we know what Aoki knows. Ida in Chapter 7 especially deserves that fucking slap. Also referring to Hashimoto as a gorilla because she's got a big fucking slap. Oh, this man does not deserve Hashimoto's love and affection. By the way, this has nothing to do with Ida getting Aoki to tell him the truth, though that was an actual good move by his character, seeing as he didn't actually know that Aoki was actually in love with Ida at that point. I also adore Wingwoo Hashimoto. She is the best. She was also absolutely on top when it came to the comedy aspect in this volume, like her interaction, especially when Aoki accidentally confesses to her. So fucking funny. I love her as a dramatic and comedic character, and her being not only mentally hard-headed character, but also as a physically strong one, despite her appearance. I love it. So good, and the few things that we do see with Ida, I really love solely because it's just so simple, cute, and romantic. especially in chapter 9, with it mainly being from his perspective, how he's agonizing over things like Aoki said, and suggested that he really likes Aoki. For Ida's first proper chapter, I think it encapsulates how awkward Ida is, and how he doesn't even realize he's in love. Very adorable. Volume 3. Chapter 10. Back with Aoki, and it's now time for the yearly school trip. They're heading for Hokkaido for a skiing trip, but this isn't any skiing trip. This is a boot camp. And Aoki and bestie Hashimoto are horribly inept, especially for skiing, meaning that they're in for trouble. After failing 2 exams, Ida, who are at the top of their class, suggest running away so Aoki and Hashimoto can actually have a good school trip. On this escape, Aoki pulls Ida away from Ida and Hashimoto to give the two space because the mood felt right. And Aoki and Ida get to talking, which results in Aoki finally confessing that he is indeed in love with Ida. To which he then falls to his death. Chapter 11. Just kidding! Ida died! Well, almost. Ida being injured caused Aoki to freak out and go find a teacher. Next we see is Ida in the infirmary being met by Hashimoto and Ida both being in trouble for escaping, much like many of the classmates. But Aoki? In his panic, he managed to learn how to ski amazingly and was praised heavily for it. Hashimoto and Ida leave the two to talk and have a talk of their own. To be continued later. Snap back to Ida and Aoki clears things up properly with Ida. And Ida asked Aoki out, claiming that he's never had a crush before and so he doesn't know what to think when dating anyone, let alone Aoki. So this could be a good start. Chapter 12. Aoki's a little bit flustered, and by a little I mean really flustered, so that means he needs to double check with Ida that they are actually dating, which they are. Well, now they need to figure out what to do while dating. So they propose a date, a cute date where they go to see a movie with a dog that looks like Ida's dog, but the dog dies. But after the film, they end up running into Kokoro again, who mentions how she thinks Ida has a crush. This crush was Aoki back in chapter 9. But of course, Aoki overreacts, thinking Ida has a crush on a random girl, until Ida lets Aoki know that it was in fact him and teases Aoki, saying, "Maybe I have a crush on you." The chapter ending with a cryptic message from Hashimoto asking for help. Chapter 13. So it turns out Hashimoto confessed to Ida, but it didn't end up going well, and she is totally not coping. Ida doesn't remember her at all in first year just because she wasn't memorable. And so because of that, she's convinced she needs an entirely new style and books an appointment for a mohawk. In an effort to stop this happening, Aoki tries to get Ida to go down memory lane himself and takes him to the first year classrooms. And when that doesn't work, they end up running into Hashimoto as Ida practically insults her. And off she runs to that mohawk appointment. Ida managed to get her to have a trim instead of a mohawk, and they get into talking properly, with Hashimoto promising to get to know Ida better before confessing next time, aiming to shoot for Aoki, since Aoki is on Ida's mind a lot, apparently. I love inept Aoki and Hashimoto so fucking much. Oh my god. And them also being besties is once again one of my favorite fucking things. This whole chapter was different in the drama. The whole chapters, this whole volume essentially was different in the live action drama that I reviewed. Again, go to that video to see it. But that's probably the most I like this volume. This started the whole like Aoki is annoying thing that I had on my first read, mainly because Aoki jumps to conclusions and tends to overthink a lot, which really gets frustrating as a reader, especially as a romance reader. I also at this point am fine with sometimes going over to Hashimoto and Ida's perspective, but I would have really liked if they had just sort of gotten together, because it would end their plotline a lot faster. The overall chapter 10 is probably my favorite because it's cute and goofy, but chapter 12 is probably my least favorite, as well as chapter 13. It's just a lot of Hashimoto and Aoki not listening to Ida and Ida, which is my least favorite part about the miscommunication trope. It's characters just not listening. It's still annoying on the second read, and I actually feel Hashimoto and Ida's arc are having a very similar conflict to Ida and Aoki's in this chapter. It just feels like it's sort of in opposite scenarios of Ida and Aoki dating while Hashimoto and Ida are not. This just sort of adds to the frustration because I feel like I've just walked in a circle for the last 2 chapters, and that's also setting the tone for Hashimoto and Ida's entire love story as the second couple. However, I will point out on second read, I am actually paying a lot more attention to Ida and his feelings for Aoki, and how it's actually really evident and less forced than I once thought for his feelings, and continuing on in the series. On my first read, I was really just focusing on Aoki and breezing past Ida, but Ida's a lot more attracted to Aoki than I initially thought. I also don't care what you say. I love Kokoro in this volume. She's an absolute fucking queen.
Volume 4, Chapter 14. It's the first winter and the first Christmas of their relationship, and Ida and Aoki are eating together on the roof. Aoki tells Ida not to tell anyone they're dating, and oops, he already did. Aoki freaks at this information and breaks up with Ida. 3 volumes of work gone. Christmas Day comes around, and Aoki is helping his sister sell cakes outside of her bakery, and sees so many happy couples. He regrets that he dumped Ida. Oh, look, Ida! Chapter 15. Continuing Christmas, Ida found Aoki because he asked Hashimoto. After finishing their shift, Ida is gifted a cake by Aoki's sister, and the two go to the park to eat it, talking about their problems and why Aoki is so hesitant about people knowing about their relationship, being worried about being teased. Speaking of teasing, we start to see Ida teasing Aoki because his reactions are cute. In the end, Ida got a little help in convincing his team members that he's not dating Aoki. But now, Aoki is okay to the most part, with Ida and Aoki being semi-public.
Okay, chapter 16. It's the day after Christmas, and this is our Hashimoto and Ida chapter, and we are partially recapping what happened to them after they left Aoki at the Christmas stand, because that happened and I forgot to mention it. So, Hashimoto asked Ida if she can give him a nickname or that he can give her a nickname, and he does. Sumohashi. So the entire chapter is Aoki and Hashimoto trying to get Ida to see Hashimoto as a girl so that he will change her nickname. In the end, what ended up happening is that Ida starts calling Hashimoto by her first name, Mio, and Hashimoto starts calling Ida by Aku.
Chapter 17. Another day, another chapter where Ida accidentally pisses off Aoki. In this chapter, Aoki and Ida are going on regular dates, but are constantly interrupted by random people they know dropping in. And because Aoki wants to stay in the closet and not let anyone know, he lets it happen. But that leaves Aoki longing to be with Ida and for some alone time. So they go to Ida's house, where Ida then teases the absolute loving shit out of him, pissing Aoki off and causing Aoki to give Ida the cold shoulder for a few days. In this time, Ida realizes that this is a form of love for Aoki, as he finds Aoki's reactions cute, solidifying some feelings he has for Aoki. He lets Aoki know when he's confronted by Aoki, and they make up.
Can't wait for the next episode of How Will Ida Piss Aoki Off This Time. I generally really liked Volume 4. The first 2 chapters were probably my favourite for the volume, and I really like seeing how Ida evolves as a character in this volume, especially how he realizes he actually really likes Aoki in this volume. Here's where Aoki is sort of running away from his problems and not listening, where it begins to frustrate me a lot. As it's only really the start of the never-ending cycle with his character. And it was around this time on first read I was getting really frustrated with Aoki's character because of the lack of growth on his communication with Ida. Not only that, but regardless of what read this is the point where I really started to hate Ida's character. Because it's in this volume where Hashimoto gets pissed off with Ida too, and while still being her friend, is negligent to her feelings, which proceeds to piss me off throughout the rest of the series, but it really starts here. Volume 5 and Chapter 18. We start with Aoki having really shit grades. So upcoming final exams are coming up, and Aoki wants to go to university, but his grades are dog shit, so he has to go to cram school. In cram school, he meets his tutor, Okano, and Okano is very encouraging for him to move forward in his relationship. So Aoki tries that and tries to hold hands with Ida, and Ida reacts shocked. Aoki takes this as Ida being disgusted with Aoki and gets a bit down. But after getting about third highest in all of his cram school for his recent test results, he meets up with Ida and they talk about Aoki trying to hold Ida's hand. And it turns out Ida reacted that way because Aoki's hands are fucking freezing. Like, he was surprised they would be even that cold. And so they make a declaration to each other that they're taking things slow, but that they really need to talk more about this kind of stuff. This all being done while they're holding hands off the side of an overpass. And Okano just happens to catch them. And Okano thought Aoki had a girlfriend. Chapter 19. So we open with Aoki and Ida continuing their conversation from the last point we saw them. And they're talking about the previous conversation that they were having, making a promise to each other that they will actually talk about these situations and not just, jump to conclusions. Speaking of jumping to conclusions, Okano, so he saw something that he feels he should not have witnessed and now feels really awkward around Aoki. When Aoki confronts him on this, Okano says that he saw him and Ida together and that he's not super comfortable with, Aoki liking guys and they're both guys and stuff like that. And so now Aoki is super depressed because Okano promised him that he'd take him out for ramen if he actually did really well on his last or his next exam, and he did that. So when he's down the next day, Ida calls him out on it and they talk about it. They talk about the fact that Okano is a shit person, and Ida asks if Aoki wants Ida to confront Okano for him, because no matter if Okano's done with it, Aoki's still upset, so his feelings actually fucking matter. So to resolve the entire situation, Ida offers to take Aoki out for ramen because that's what Okano promised him. And out on this date, they run into Okano, to which they then, all three of them, go into the ramen shop, have ramen together, and work out their misunderstanding. The night ending with Okano being fucking piss drunk and Ida having to carry him home, with Aoki thinking that his boyfriend is a fucking amazing guy. Chapter 20. The compulsory Ida and Hashimoto chapter. Valentine's Day is coming up and Hashimoto is a part of the Home Economics Club, and she's trying to figure out some baked goods to make for Valentine's Day and for a certain someone. Wink wink, nudge nudge, what did Akun do to deserve Hashimoto? So she asked Ida, and he picks cupcakes. So she makes cupcakes. On the day, leaving them in his desk because she is too nervous to give them to him face to face. But before he notices Mio's gift, Ida is attempted to be given a gift by another girl, and it is another baked good. Ida turns this down, saying that he doesn't like homemade stuff, which sets off Hashimoto, as she has made homemade stuff for him. As it turns out, he only said this because he only wanted a gift from Mio. They make amends, and Ida gifts Aoki a chocolate bar for Valentine's Day. Chapter 21. Ida's birthday is coming up, and Aoki didn't know and wants to get him a really good birthday present. So what does he do? Well, he gets a part-time job so he can afford said birthday present, and he starts working at a sushi place. But Ida finds himself getting jealous because one of his co-workers goes to school with them, and when he sees them being so enthusiastic about work together, he just can't help but get jealous. So for his birthday, with the rest of the volleyball team, he goes to the exact same sushi place that Aoki works at, and still finds himself getting jealous. The chapter ends with Ida letting Aoki know that he's jealous, and Aoki letting Ida know that he's going to quit his part-time job soon. Okay, even I can admit that the Valentine's chapter was supposed to be sweet and an extension of love from Ida. But the way it plays in the story more so feels like Ida giving into the demand of Hashimoto, like he's purposely doing it to make her happy, not because he likes her, but because it's out of obligation. I fully admit this is my own interpretation of that, and I'm very aware that the way the chapter is framed, Ida is supposed to be being vulnerable here at some point, but the lack of expression and exasperation when Hashimoto gets upset at him makes him appear more like it's obligation over affection. Overall, Volume 5 is probably my favorite volume of the entire series, despite that, just because of the rapid growth of the A-plot between Ida and Aoki, from them making a promise to actually talk through their issues, to Ida showing vulnerability in the fact that he likes Aoki, aka jealousy. But more than that, he almost fully comes to the realization that he does love Aoki, and that he wants to be with Aoki. And speaking of Aoki, I really appreciate the maturity of Aoki, and how in this volume he's not just a floundering fucking idiot, and that he has his mind set to a goal in this volume, so following along makes it more enjoyable as a reader. It was around here on my first read that I started really getting fully back into the series because of Aoki's subtle character changes, even if I didn't fully express that within my read wrap-ups. Chapter 22. Sainoji knows that Ida is about to quit his job once he's got his first paycheck, now that he has the money for Ida's present. And Sainoji is not happy. But skip ahead, it's Ida's birthday, and Ida and Aoki go on a little date, with Aoki having bought Ida's present, even though Ida didn't really want him to buy him a present. On this date, they run into Sainoji, who is furious at a video game in the arcade. And what ends up happening is they end up talking, and it turns out she has a crush on the manager of the job her and Aoki work at, but he's about to get married, so her hopes are up and she does not believe in love. But with a quick conversation with Ida and Aoki, she realizes that she can give up this love and just be happy for him where he is, and find her own place and find her own love. And then she teases Ida by saying, maybe I like Aoki. Chapter 23, the Hashimoto and Ida chapter. Hashimoto and Ida are dating, but then they're not, and Ida can't really come to terms with like if he actually likes Hashimoto or not, but actually he really, really does. And then they're dating again. Yay! Chapter 24. It's now the new school year, and they are third years. Aoki and Ida are on a little date when they hear a girl scream behind them, "You haven't kissed yet?" And thus sets in the A-plot for the chapter. The B-plot being that the sports festival is coming up, and Aoki and Ida are training really hard. But
During this time, both Aoki and Ida are thinking about having their first proper kiss. So, what does Aoki do? Overthink it. And what does Ida do? He overthinks it too for once. Oh my god. The rest of the chapter is them being fuzzy, communicating, Ida getting frustrated and showing a little more emotion than we usually see with Ida. And in the end, they kiss. Chapter 25, with their romance fully blooming at this point, having had a sweet, very sweet kiss, it's time to think about the future, and Aoki doesn't know what he wants to do for his future, what university he wants to go to, or anything along those lines. So he asks his friends for help, specifically asking Ida if they're in the same boat, if he knows what he wants to do with his life. And Ida does. He wants to be a teacher, duh. Aoki's stunned. But in the end, talks about what he wanted to do when he was a kid. And it turns out he wanted to be a baker like his sister, or a sweets maker, a pâtissier, something like that. So Ida encourages Aoki to continue to follow that dream. He encourages Aoki to continue that dream, and Aoki makes strides to going into looking into the agricultural department of as many universities as he can. And it just so happens one of Ida's top schools also has an agriculture department. So they're going to go to Kyoto to look at the university together. But that's for the next volume.
Okay, so there's a lot to say about this volume. I have a lot to talk about. I will say, at this point, especially in chapter 25, we see a start of the decline of Hashimoto and Ida's characters because they are practically background characters at this point. Neither Hashimoto nor Ida are characters Aoki typically depends on anymore, so their purpose is literally to fill space in the background of the story, or if there is not something that is developing between Ida and Aoki, it switches to Ida and Hashimoto. But what do they have other than Aoki? Their relationship and the back and forth of Hashimoto getting pissed off or jealous because of things Ida has said or done, only for her brute strength to come into play and somehow physically threaten or harm Ida. This will continue to be their characters for about 3 more volumes, but is that sudden halt of their character development because Hashimoto's goal at the start of the series was Ida, and now she has him. There's not a lot more places for her character nor Ida's to go, which leads to potential flanderization or bastardization of their characters being stuck in limbo and forced to enact the same gags in the background of the main plot. Moving on, I did like, for the most part, this volume. I like Sainoji's character arc and how she was a one-off character like Kokoro, where she gets assistance from Aoki and Ida and is overall treated well within the story. I also love the relationship fluff between Aoki and Ida in this volume. My favourite chapter from this volume is probably chapter 24, just because it is a very cute chapter, and I do love how Aoki has sort of come into his own in this volume as a whole. Obviously, with this starting in volume 5, but the extra development here is much appreciated. Chapter 26. Ida's going to university in Kyoto, all without telling Aoki. Well, actually he did. Aoki was just too wrapped up in his own shit to realize. When Ida realizes this, he gets pissed off with Aoki for once. And now it's up to Aoki to fix this. So he plans a Kyoto trip with just him and Ida. They go for the open day, and Aoki puts in his all until lunch when Ida asks to talk. Aoki goes into a doomer mode and immediately assumes he is getting broken up with and interrupts Ida, asking for forgiveness. Ida instead tells Aoki that he's really happy that Aoki wants to be with him in university and that he's usually okay with being alone, but not now that he's with Aoki. The two of them end the day by checking into the hotel room, and there's only one bed. So this is a bit of a fan servicey chapter. We continue where we left off. Ida and Aoki are complaining to the head office that they've misbooked the room, so they put Ida and Aoki in a much older room, but at least they don't have to share the same bed. Damn it. The rest of the chapter is Aoki being violently afraid of ghosts and clinging onto Ida because of it. And in the end of the chapter, they come back home and Ida and Aoki are talking about their futures, and they talk to Ida and Hashimoto, and Ida and Hashimoto want to go on a date to the summer festival. Chapter 28, this is the Ida and Hashimoto chapter for this volume. It's also the last chapter of this volume. Every other thing after it is like a mini theatre, which is really frustrating. So chapter 28 is supposed to be the summer festival. However, due to heavy torrential rain, the summer festival gets cancelled and Ida and Hashimoto are caught out in the rain. So, to get them home safely, Hashimoto calls her dad, who offers to pick the both up. This ending up with Ida meeting Hashimoto's family for the first time and being scared shitless as her father is a former pro wrestler and looks like he's about to kill him at any point. But much like Hashimoto's mother strong arms her father and gets him to play nice with Ida.
This volume surprisingly has my favourite Ida and Hashimoto chapter. Now, I know I said before the characters sort of have nowhere to go, but they don't really, but I mean this more so within the main plot. Ida and Aoki's story. They are reverted into their supporting roles and comedic side character roles over further development. In volume 7, we got a good, fun, comedic chapter out of the couple, much akin to a date with Ida and Aoki. There's not much that develops here, obviously, and it is truly just a rehashing of the Hashimoto Sumahashi joke, and is an explanation as to why she's this way, which in essence really pushes home that there's not much more to Ida and Hashimoto's relationship, as this is one of their last proper chapters together. But I did enjoy it for the dumb fun, maybe because there's like an even more exaggerated couple in the chapter, but Ida and Hashimoto feel more akin to their volume 2 selves than here in the last 2 volumes. And their romance in this volume feels more legitimate compared to when they started dating or the Valentine's chapter. It also stands out in this volume as there is really only 3 chapters, along with some extras that I do not care to share, particularly as they are just little tidbits that don't really overtly affect the story. The main bulk of the volume is looking into the futures of Aoki and Ida, which I'm not the biggest fan of, and I wish there had been maybe a 4th chapter instead of all the extras. Not my favorite volume. I think this is probably one of my least favorite volumes, along with like volume 4, but yeah. Chapter 29. It's the end of summer. Aoki and Ida decide to go to the summer festival and enjoy their time together and do things that they haven't been able to do during the summer, only to continuously get interrupted by other people, which puts Ida on edge. Thinking that Ida is overwhelmed, Aoki takes Ida to one of his favourite spots to view the fireworks. They have a conversation about telling people they're dating, and also Ida forgetting what he actually wanted to do at the festival with Aoki, only for them to kiss at the fireworks. Chapter 30. Aoki is stressing out about his finals and how he's not the most likely to get into the same university as Ida like he wants to. So in secret he tries working harder, and it would have been a secret if Ida hadn't seen his recent results and started worrying that Aoki is pushing himself too hard, causing a little fight between them. This stress on Ida caused Ida to fall ill, and of course Aoki feels bad, so he swings by Ida's place before cram school to patch things up. And when he does, Ida asks him to stay with him and to just study at his place, which he does. Chapter 31. It's been a year since the last school festival, and Aoki's class is once again putting on Cinderella because the original actors didn't get a chance to last year. Since they aren't acting this year, Aoki and Ida actually get to enjoy the festival this year, and they intend to. But Aoki's family decides that they also want to come to the cultural festival this year too. Ida and Hashimoto tell each other what universities they intend on going to and that they'll be going long distance, and Ida lets Aoki know that they told each other,
which makes Aoki more nervous for the future of him and Ida. He goes to find Ida and finds him talking with Aoki's mother. After their little chat, Aoki and Ida finally get to spend some time together, and Ida and Aoki lament about how happy they are to have met in the first place. Chapter 32. Mothers have arrived. This chapter is all about the mum's connection to Aoki and Ida, and Aoki and Ida promptly introducing themselves to their parents as partners. Aoki has some quality time with Ida and in the process gets Ida's sweater to test a theory that Ida's dog Mamataro dislikes Aoki because of the fabric softener he uses on his clothes, which ends up being true. Upon Aoki leaving Ida's house, he realizes he's still wearing the sweater and he turns back to give it to Ida. But when he gets to Ida's place, he hears Ida's mum ask Ida not to see Aoki anymore. Aoki, shocked, runs back to his home, goes to clean the jumper, only to realize that he has accidentally shrunk it. Aoki's mum tries to help him fix it, but it doesn't work, and Aoki has to take it back and apologize. Ida's mum clears up the misunderstanding, as she wasn't asking Ida to not see Aoki, but rather to not bother Aoki, because Ida can be overbearing with things that he loves. And in all, Aoki finally introduces himself as Ida's boyfriend. So I love this volume and how it's like mostly domestic fluff with a bit more of the conventional aspects of school romance, and there's even inserts of Ida and Hashimoto that they try to conclude some character arcs, which isn't super imposing on the plot and doesn't take too much away from Ida and Aoki. I do love the unraveling of Ida's character, and it's even mentioned when Aoki is fretting about others' perceptions of them that Ida is growing more in his confidence in their relationship, which I find very cute. Just seeing Ida become more affectionate to Aoki and crave his attention is just everything I need in this book. So good, so cute, honestly so adorable. And I need to point out the cover art for this, along with, I think volume 7 had Aoki on the front. So fucking cute, because as mentioned by the mangakas, this is Ida looking directly at Aoki, and the previous volume was Aoki looking at Ida, so they're just sort of staring at each other, and I find it so cute because look, he is so in love. He is so in love.
It is now the final volume, and it is chapter 33. This is basically, it's been a year. It's now December again. It's New Year's, and Ida and Aoki go to the shrine again, and they pull out fortunes, and Ida has a really bad fortune, and Aoki has a really good one. But bad things keep happening to Aoki because he's just like that. And they leave the shrine, tying up Ida's bad luck, tying up the bad luck to make sure it doesn't come true. And what ends up happening is Aoki and Ida fall down the fucking stairs, causing Aoki to lose all his memory. Chapter 34, Aoki has amnesia, and he doesn't remember anything past not even the start of the series. He's been reset back to literally the start of the series and doesn't know that him and Ida are in a relationship. Ida, Hashimoto, Ida, all those people try to help Aoki remember, and he just can't. So when he confronts Ida that he can't remember anything and that they should just move on, Ida doesn't handle it well, and in the end, Aoki and Ida break up and go their separate ways for 9 years. When they meet up again, they talk about Aoki's amnesia, and Ida confesses that he just wants to be with Aoki. He can't go on without Aoki, and that if he's living in a nightmare, he wishes he could be woken up. So Aoki wakes him up, and it turns out that Aoki didn't get amnesia. It was all a dream, and Ida and Aoki just fell down the fucking stairs, and Ida just bapped his head. But that they're actually, still alive, and it is all his goofy, happy self, and, yeah. Chapter 35. It's after the exam,
And it's kind of just a bunch of one-shots about what's happening. Aoki is sort of just like watching his friends grow and like be adults and shit, and Ida is like enjoying his final days with the volleyball club, and now they're just waiting for the results from the university. So chapter 36. Now this is going to be a really lazy explanation, but everything goes well for Aoki and Ida, and their life truly like begins. They graduate high school and they go to put some mementos in a class time capsule, and Aoki puts in the rubber that Ida first picked up, and that's pretty much the entire story. It just wraps up really neatly and really nicely. A perfect cherry on top to the end of this series. It perfectly completes this series, and I think the thing that I love most is how we see the characters now, specifically Ida. Ida is a much more relaxed and outgoing in his relationship. He's now just like a silly, goofy guy. Okay, but really, I really appreciate seeing his growth as a character. He goes from being quite reserved to being open and needy, and this is highlighted in the amount of comedy panels that is now shown of him being sort of a similar amount and quality to Aoki's. I'm not a huge fan of the fake out chapter in volume 9 and the last minute pot stir over the future of our characters, but I do appreciate the good humor of the mangakas in that sort of essence as well. It's a really good fake out to make you think that this happens in the story, and then no, that's not actually the case. They just go to uni together and it's great. And while it isn't the most perfect of endings, I do think that fake out kind of ruined it, but also like was pretty good. It's definitely a good ending to a good series. So, as I actually documented my initial opinions on this series on first read with the Weeb wrap-up series, I think it's only fair to show you how I progressed on my first read as opposed to my now biased opinion, having read and loved the series and seeing the series in a positive light, as volume 5 really became the turning point to my opinions on the actual series itself on first read, where somehow along the way I forgot I was initially very hesitant to read the series as a whole. I thought it was just bare bones basic, and while intrigued by the first volume, didn't think that the series was all that much after volume 1 until volumes 5 and 6. So before we begin, here is a compilation of my feelings towards the series when I first read it in all of my Weeb wrap-ups. So, My Love Mix-Up Volume 1. So I decided to get this based on, I got 2 recommendations for this one book, one from my friend and the other from a YouTube video. I really have wanted to get into more queer love stories, and this one is actually pretty good. So My Love Mix-Up is between these 2 characters specifically. So this is a very cute, very funny love story, and I really want to continue this. It is really good. It is such an adorable story, and yeah, it's not BL in the traditional sense. Like this has got the shoujo beat tag. It's not by Sublime, and it doesn't have a BL tag on it. It's just genuinely a really cute little story. Highly recommend this. I'd say this, out of all of the manga that I've got today, I would recommend this out of all of them. The recommendations I got for this series, spot on. I love this little book, and I can't wait to continue the rest of this series in particular. My Love Mix-Up. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I read this at the very start of October. I don't remember a lot of what's going on in this volume from memory. It is actually mainly these 2 having their relationship stuff going on in this volume. They do go to a snow lodge, or a lodge or whatever, and have snow snow shenanigans within this book. They go to a boot camp, and it's funny, it's quaint, it's humorous. Honestly, this is very cute. My Love Mix-Up is really cute, like a really cute manga series. I feel like it's losing steam a little bit. I think it needs to pick back up with these two and have them be more like of a heavy hitter solid romance, because the concept of My Love Mix-Up was really strong in the first volume and the second volume, and now that it's sort of going into the like romantic side of My Love Mix-Up, it's sort of losing the premise of the whole name, if that makes sense. It's very much going from, it's doing the same thing that Love Me, Love Me Not did, where it started off really strong, really fucking strong, and it's sort of fading out a little bit and going to the actual romantic elements. There's definitely still some edginess, that's not the right word, drama. There's still drama going on between all of the characters. It's obviously in its very early stages of its release, so of course all of this is going to be drama heavy, but it's very slice of lifey, if that makes sense. So My Love Mix-Up, I don't really have a lot to say about this volume. I just think it's very cute. I will still keep up with the series, and I will still collect the series once volume 4 comes out. That is the likes of My Love Mix-Up volume 4. This is going to be very short. I read this on Christmas. I got it for a Christmas present, and it is very fitting that I got this on Christmas, as the first few chapters take place on Christmas. Honestly, also in this manga, Aoki's a fucking drama queen. He is such a drama queen. Like, a lot of the problems stem because he's really anxious and is like constantly on guard and takes things the wrong way. He's just a drama queen. He's like a real like Tamaki Suo type, but also with the personality of fucking Hikaru or some shit. That's the best way I can describe it. There's not a whole lot with the other couple this volume, which I'm actually very happy about. They are an interesting plot point, but not too interesting that I want a whole volume and B-plot about them. I'm more interested in our two main characters, Ida and Aoki. So we are going to be talking about My Love Mix-Up again, and we're going to be talking about volumes 5 and 6. So, volume 5, for a series that I've noted as being unmemorable in the past, as it really feels like every other romance novel, volume 5 of My Love Mix-Up really stands out. I don't know if it's because I've just been in the perfect headspace for sweet rom-coms, or something changed about the storytelling of the actual manga itself, but this volume really made me giggle and feel warm and fuzzy and just gushy inside. I tend to forget how funny My Love Mix-Up can be, and how it's a nice, warm-hearted romance on top of also being a funny comedic story as well. I think what changed in this volume is Aoki, fuck, I can never say this bitch's name, Aoki and Ida's official start to their relationship. They're working out the kinks, and Ida is finding himself becoming more jealous. Aoki feels less annoying as a character in this volume because he actually has a decent support system that understands the things that he maybe necessarily won't about himself, and he feels more like a competent character in this goddamn series. For being the protagonist, he's been pretty fucking annoying sometimes. This volume is pretty standard, as Aoki plans for his future, has to go to cram school, and starts a part-time job. The main contentions being his prejudiced tutor for cram school and their new co-worker at his work. I think this volume succeeds in the fact that Aoki is put together somewhat. He's not blabbering like an idiot like in previous volumes, and has clear goals and intentions for this volume. Instead, in this volume, the romance floundering is left to Ida. He has to deal with jealousy for the first time and anger towards people who are harming his partner. The B-plot is the Valentine's chapter with Aida and Hashimoto, which is these two idiots on the front, and their rocky relationship as well, but we don't dawdle on it for too long, which I also appreciate since I got into the series for these two fucks. Anyway, solid volume, definitely need to keep collecting this series. Volume 6, My Love Mix-Up. This is a lot shorter. This volume, we explored more of Aoki and Ida's relationship. Fucking shocker. I will admit, this was less eventful than the last volume, but I'm still kind of invested in this series as these two volumes have got me hooked into really wanting to read the next two volumes. My Love Mix-Up, this being Volume 7. Now, I pre-ordered Volume 8, and I swear to God, if it doesn't come within the next week, I will cry. Honestly, this is so fun. I really did love this volume. I do wish that Ida did have a quicker realization of his feelings in the series, but I guess we are sort of just like waiting on Ida throughout the entire series, whereas Aoki is the protagonist. So I also wish for this particular volume there was more plot, as there was only 3 full chapters, which I hate when there could be 4 full chapters instead of 3 chapters and a one-shot, and I believe this one also ended on a plot twist, or just like a thread of information that keeps you on your toes and wants you to buy the next one, which I get, marketing strategy, but also I want to read the next fucking book. Overall, I liked the chapters, and the Ida and Hashimoto one was actually quite funny, and I really liked how their relationship has progressed, especially seeing as they are the second couple in this book, and I'm not the biggest fan of their relationship overall, just because they seem more like plot points than like an actual relationship, but it was pretty funny for a couple that I don't particularly care about. Yeah, we have My Love Mix-Up Volume 8. I told you this was coming back. This volume was so cute. I'm pretty sure there's only 1 volume left of this series, and it's so adorable, and I'm so happy that I picked up this book. It's so cute and adorable. I don't want to spoil this volume too much, but I will say the artist themselves says that this volume and volume 7, Ida and Aoki are supposed to be looking at each other in terms of like the covers of the like 2 volumes. So cute. I will be displaying these 2 together like this. Fuck it, no I won't, but I want to. I love it so much, and I cannot wait for the final volume. My Love Mix-Up! The final volume. Okay, so I have so much to talk about. Annihilated this within 40 minutes of me actually getting it in my hands. First of all, I fucking hate TikTok. I had a major plot point for this book ruined for me by TikTok, by having one of those things where it shows you the chapter on the like carousel things. They showed me one of the chapters in My Love Mix-Up, and it was one of the final chapters, and it ruined a chapter for me. I didn't even go through the carousel. I went on to the first panel that showed up, and it ruined an entire chapter for me. At least that is what I thought until I got 2 chapters in. But bait and switch, baby. Bait and switch. Oh, I love this author so much. They didn't go down the route that I thought they would. I'm so glad the mangaka didn't go down the extra drama route. This volume was all about tying together loose ends and completing the series, and with Aoki finally letting himself present Ida to his family as his boyfriend, Hashimoto and Ida got a happy ending, and we got a sweet kiss between Aoki and Ida at the end. I love it so much, and there is no weird sex scene at the end. I'm genuinely so happy with how this series ended. If not slightly underwhelmed, but as someone who wasn't too interested in the series altogether to begin with having felt burnt out by Love Me, Love Me Not, I am so happy to have found the series and fallen in love with it the way that I did. Overall, I give this book probably an 8 out of 10, and I'll give the entire series itself a 9.5 out of 10. Now that you've seen my opinions in the past, what are my opinions now? Given that this entire video is an opinion piece and the rest of this video will be extremely opinionated in a mostly in a more comparative form, but not like fully researched. I will admit that I was very, very tired and sort of just rambling half the time when I did this, and I formatted this script like 3 or 4 times, so I don't know exactly how well everything's been done. But given that this isn't a full opinion piece, I'll give you my brief overview on the plot rather than the characters, because I have a whole different section dedicated to the characters. However, if I were to rank the characters, it would be Ida at number 1, Hashimoto and Aoki in joint 2nd, and Ida in 4th. Who gets 3rd? Kokoro. You know, the side character. Anyway, this is based off of memory from my first read, but my love mix-up is by the title, A Communication Error. And this book is based on miscommunication, which is my least liked romantic trope overall in romance, especially in shoujo romance, but also in like fanfiction and shit as well. But this, personally, is one of the only novels where it can actually pull this trope completely out of the dust, because every other series, they just lean into it. Like, My Love Mix-Up does the opposite. My favorite volume overall, as I've previously mentioned, is definitely 5. It's a game changer of the series and really sets into motion how likable Aoki is and can be when not floundering like a fucking idiot. Volume 6 further cements this personally to me, but more so highlights Ida. My least favorite volumes would probably either be volume 3 or volume 7, mainly because in volume 7, because it lacks the content I think it needed to flourish, despite it having my favorite Hashimoto and Ida chapter in it, the one where he meets Hashimoto's family. Volume 3, personally, overall, I think it was generally more flat as we transition from the first arc to the second, and it's around this time on first read that I was really frustrated in the series, personally with how goofy Aoki was, because it felt like the romance was taking a step back to the comedy aspect. On second read, obviously, I can see that the romance is still fully there, and it's now, because I'm reading it for the second time and reliving the story, that I can tell Aoki's more flustered than inept, especially in chapter 12. This frustration appeared because Aoki jumps to conclusions so quickly and becomes messy instead of silly. That all being said, my least favorite chapter overall is chapter 23, which obviously I believe takes place in volume 5. Does it take place in volume 5 or volume 6? Volume 6. It takes place in volume 6. Singing volume 6's praise, and then it has my least favorite chapter in it earlier. My least favorite chapter, as I said, chapter 23, volume 6, solely because Ida does not feel like a very deserving love interest to Hashimoto. Unlike Ida, we don't see romantic interest in Hashimoto from Ida until after they have started dating. Maybe in the Valentine's chapter, but it feels more forced than anything personally. And it's all too sudden. Like, he only wanted Hashimoto's sweets to make her happy so she wouldn't be mad at him, which she ended up being anyway. Favorite chapter? Okay, now that one genuinely is difficult because there's so many and there's so many moments that I really love. It will definitely be in the latter half of the series. Pretty much any chapter in volume 8 I really like, as well as the chapter where Aoki is whining in volume 2 and he accidentally confesses to Hashimoto. Honestly, that moment in the series was a standout for me. I mentioned it a lot in this video. In terms of character moments, what is my favorites? Ida shines in the chapter where he meets Hashimoto's parents, as well as his slightly frustrating detective shtick that he does. Ida's best moments are from volume 5 onwards, as he truly becomes invested with the whole romance thing. Hashimoto's is honestly turning down Aoki, as I said, as well as getting the mohawk before when, like, I think Ida turns her down or something. Personally, the comedic timing of Hashimoto, especially in the first 3 to 4 chapters, is fan-fucking-tastic, and I love it so much. And Aoki, I think just in general, any gag with Aoki in it is a funny one, but I think the ones that I like the most is when he's going to save Ida in volume 3. Honestly, fucking hilarious. And then I think my personal favourite overall moment is with Aoki and Ida, is on the walkway where Okuno sees them, as well as their first kiss at the school festival. Also, just as a little behind the scenes moment, I couldn't remember Okuno's name when scripting this section, so I called him Oikawa. Because the fucker, first of all, he looks like Oikawa. Second of all, Okano, Oikawa, Oka, Oka, Oika, Oka, Oika. It's, you can't blame me for not remembering his name and replacing it with Oikawa, okay? I also don't like either of them. On first read, the first few volumes are nothing much, as it's just somewhat an interesting take on shoujo. I actually expected the series in the beginning to pull a blue flag, and it turns out when you think he gets with Ida, he ends up with Hashimoto, that sort of thing. That didn't happen, and personally the series didn't pick up properly around to the volume 5 to 6 mark, maybe volume 4, because I did get it for Christmas and I did like it enough, but I truly didn't get fully invested until volume 5 and 6. However, on second read, you are able to appreciate the unique take on the series, and I actually noticed Ida a lot more than I did on the first read. Like, I didn't compute his feelings at all, and I thought it was really cliche. Personally, I stand corrected on my initial thoughts and feelings about the series. It's actually really super fucking cute, especially if you pay attention to Ida in this series. That is probably the one thing that I think you should take away. If you are reading the series, please pay attention to Ida, because he seems like a side character at first, but his feelings are there from the beginning. Generally, I really like the story, as it is probably one of the most basic shoujo school romances there is, but it's gay. And I would like to see more romances like it, where it's just entirely normal, but the main couple is gay. That's why I love Whisper Me a Love Song as well, because it's got a similar kind of vibe. It's just more drama heavy and is like band lesbians, you know? I would say, after exploring all the possibilities that could have happened in this series and the dramas that could have occurred, I'm both sad and glad that they didn't choose that path. Things like including, or things like having a distinct lack of threat of any female characters as like a love interest, or thinking that a female character is a love interest. They kind of did that, but they didn't do it to a point where it causes villainization. Actually, on the contrary to that, it's actually a man who ends up being homophobic. Not a rival, but he ends up being a homophobic pest. Okuno. But then there's also, like, for the series, a lack of a proper rival, which could have been good and bad for the series. It really is like a double-edged sword on that behalf. I'm honestly left like pleasantly surprised, but kind of wanting more. I love how the messages of the series were conveyed, and really did like the character arcs of Aoki and Ida. I was wishing for more from Ida and Hashimoto, but this is probably the best of what we could have gotten that wouldn't have fucked up the main story of Aoki and Ida. I do appreciate the humour of the mangakas with the fake out chapter in the last volume, and the visual gags. I can't wait to see more series come from these two. The series as a whole gets a solid 7.8 out of 10 for me. I have my pitfalls with the series, especially on a full reread, but enjoyed it nonetheless. I just feel like there could have been more in general, and would have liked some early hints of Ida liking Hashimoto, because the whole he liked her more, Bullshit. Bullshit, Aoki. That is bullshit. So this next entire segment is like over 1,000 words, and I spent hours writing this, and I now have to speak it all. So forgive me for not staring at the screen while I do this. So now that I've given my opinions on the recap of the series, what makes this such a great story to read structurally? For me, it would be the diversion of both BL characteristics and the subversion of expectations for shoujo fans. Personally, I'll be comparing My Love Mix-Up to Love Me Love Me Not, and just general qualities I see in BL and gay fanfiction, solely because the common qualities overlap quite a bit, and I can't specifically pin a certain series similar to My Love Mix-Up that isn't either mostly platonic or that the characters didn't already know each other really well, because I really like reading childhood friends to lovers, gay fanfiction and gay books. Disclaimer, this is not as a whole what shoujo romance and BL is as a demographic or as a genre are, but rather a comparison based on specific characteristics I see a lot in BL and romance that feature in My Love Mix-Up, or a potential lack thereof, which affects my opinion of the series. I'm not inherently breaking down what is shoujo and what is BL, and how My Love Mix-Up is inherently a shoujo romance over a classical BL. The demographic and genre tabs speak for themselves, really. I just want to share how my experience in reading similar stories and how My Love Mix-Up diverts expectations really elevates the story despite it being quite simplistic. While it's not the plot structure that sets the series apart from anything else in the shoujo romance genre nor the BL genre, it's how My Love Mix-Up adapts the common devices and tropes used to stir up drama, and how that elevates the character growth of these characters and promotes a better message that is worth praise that I rarely see mentioned in these genres. That's what I want to talk about, and how it is elevated in My Love Mix-Up as compared to, say, the likes of Ao Haru Ride, Love Me Love Me Not, Escape Journey, I guess, Dekoboku Sugar Days, whatever. To begin is where My Love Mix-Up falls both into its genre and demographic really, really well. This obviously being its trope, miscommunication. The romance genre, in all facets, bend at the knee to this goddamn trope in the same way. Whether it's purposeful omission, where one character purposefully knows something but refuses to tell anyone else, causing drama, or a simple misunderstanding where the characters just misinterpret each other, or a subsection of both of these being when a character refuses to listen to another character when they misunderstand something, which is literally my least favorite version of the miscommunication trope. My Love Mix-Up, as I said in the beginning, turns this trope on its head in all facets of the genre, being the most purest form of miscommunication, which is misunderstanding and purposeful omission, to where misunderstanding really only ever affects Aoki, and Aoki is only the ever one to not listen to Ida. Actually, that's a lie. Hashimoto does the same thing, but Hashimoto is heartbroken at that time, so we're giving her a pass. It's mainly Aoki who feels this sort of pain and who gets affected by miscommunication the most, which does get frustrating as Aoki is loyal to Hashimoto to a fault and a major people pleaser, but I would rather this version of miscommunication where the end game of the story overtly says communication is key to a good relationship, via Ida and Aoki's relationship becoming much closer in the latter volumes due to them actually talking, which is a subversion of the genre that I rarely see. This in the affirmation romance genres. Miscommunication is usually portrayed by characters simply not talking whatsoever, and that third option runs rampant through any and all romance, to the point where some stories will never promote healthy communication in relationships, some promoting damn near emotionally abusive relationships, and almost the entire plot requires the protagonist to not develop this key skill in their relationship to create drama to elongate the story. If your entire plot revolves around miscommunication after miscommunication without growth, keyword without growth, you really need to rethink your story that you are trying to tell. Hell, my biggest critique of Aoki is the fact that after a certain point, he's just cyclic and not communicating properly with Ida, and it gets really frustrating, especially in the latter half of the story. It still infests my love mix-up, but it's so unbelievably abhorrent in series and like other romances and other shoujos, especially such as the likes of Love Me Love Me Not, or BL's like Escape Journey, especially Escape Journey, for fuck's sake. All of this melodrama that occurs because of miscommunication does also happen in My Love Mix-Up, but as I said, it's really just centered around Aoki because he is melodramatic. It's in his essence as a character, especially as the protagonist who fucks around and finds out, aka being the main comedic character who suffers the most in a SpongeBob-like distortion visually for comedic effect. Another thing that these series do, which is really frustrating as compared to when it happens in My Love Mix-Up, would be how weirdly spineless a lot of the protagonists of shoujo and BL romances are when it comes to love rivals. As long as they think it will make their crush happy, they will cheer on the rival instead of fighting for their love, which always happens as a result of miscommunication to cause drama, retracting into their shelves, making the love interest reach out to them first. And usually these instances have no basis for the characters to be acting this way. It's simply just an assumption. Why I like series like a Butterfly, because in this series the rival is likable and our protagonist stands the fuck up and refuses to sit down and back down because she likes the guy that she likes. No one will get in the protagonist's way of that particular goal. How is this concept changed in My Love Mix-Up? Mystery third element. So let's break it down from the first volume. So in the mix-up, Aoki 1 has hard evidence, physical fucking evidence, that Hashimoto has a crush on someone else with Ida in their name. 2, Aoki is frustratingly selfless, but then spanner throw, mystery third element. 3, Ida thinks Aoki likes him, miscommunication, and he concretely announces Ida doesn't have a crush himself and doesn't really know what it's like to be in love, doesn't know anything about crushes, and doesn't know really anything about love. Ida wants to honestly meet Aoki and turn him down properly or meet his feelings, which then leads into the main romance of the story. The main thing that sets My Love Mix-Up apart is the solid evidence that Aoki's crush does not like him. Ida concretely says he does not like anybody, and that love is a very foreign concept to him. And in addition to Aoki purposefully omitting the fact that it was Hashimoto's rubber, eraser for the Americans, makes this the perfect storm for the story to build upon. It is so unlike any other shoujo romance because, yes, Aoki does cheer on Hashimoto instead of going after her, but the difference is he has clear evidence that she doesn't like him. In other shoujos, the protagonist just guesses. She will look at the love interest with another person and go, oh my god, they're in love. Oh, okay. I guess I'll cheer them on. Why? Now, I will be bold to say that the shoujo demographic and the BL genre in general share its worst traits with each other, especially around the miscommunication genre. The aforementioned lack of growth in communication to continue melodrama being one of them. And one of the more frustrating elements at that. However, there is one more major connecting force between these two demographics and genres that I do not see present in My Love Mix-Up whatsoever, and it is immediately off the bat the thing that more of the trashier BL and shoujo do, this being the villainization of any and all female characters. Now, immediately off the bat, it is the more like trashier shoujo and BL that will do this. It is not all BL, it is not all shoujo, it is just the more atrocious ones that tend to be like boosted a lot because it's so like bad and people like reading bad so much because it's so bad that it's good, whatever. But this isn't all shoujo, isn't all BL, but it does happen quite a bit to become a trope in both shoujo romance and BL as a whole, which is to fully villainize or paint female rivals specifically in a bad light. Now, this is a couple of different behaviors stacked upon each other that causes this in romances, but romance series are just weirdly hostile to any and all female characters not a part of the main group, sometimes going as far as making women in the main friend groups downright awful, making it unjustifiable as to why they should be going anywhere near the main couple. This is especially the case where there is a woman or women near the male love interest, regardless of genre or demographic. This shit runs wild in romances. Call it misogyny, because that's kind of what it is. And honestly, this shit really pisses me off. Specifically in the shoujo demographic, but looking particularly at the BL genre, where many stories downright lack female characters unless it's to be used as a rival to cause excess drama. There's nothing wrong with having a story without female characters in the BL world, I have to disclaim that, but specifically having a story that lacks female characters until it becomes something that is used as a plot point to stir up drama feels icky. Sure, it's few and far between, especially more in modern romances and modern BL, but definitely in older BL and especially in older shoujo romance, it is very prevalent. What I'm saying is modern day romances don't do this a lot, but as someone who reads a lot of older romance and older shoujo and older BL, it happens quite a bit in those cases. And as I said, there is nothing wrong with having a BL that doesn't have any female characters in it. There's plenty of them. Most of the very, very popular series right now that are out, like Go For It Nakamura or Given, don't really have female characters in it. Like, they'll be present sometimes, but they're not in the main cast particularly. So as I said, it's few and far between in most modern romances and BL, but is still very present in the genre, which is then blown out of proportions in fandoms, especially Fujo fandoms or ship-heavy fandoms. Most of these characters, such as in Al Haruraid, are exes of the male love interest or project partners, or just people being homewreckers. How does My Love Mix-Up fix this fault? How does My Love Mix-Up avoid this extremely frustrating trope for the genre and demographic that it is in? Now, I'm going to omit information about this section because it's actually one of the main things I talk about when talking about Hashimoto in my character analysis, and I will talk about that later. But the answer is pretty simple. None of the female characters are threats at all to the main couple. Teased? Sure. Sainoji and Kokoro, they're teasers, right? But they always have someone else in mind who they have a crush on, and it is communicated and resolved within one chapter. One chapter. Maybe two. Now, separating the demographic and genre, both still have issues that are maneuvered around or not mentioned in My Love Mix-Up. Now, these are minor devices or tropes that are featured in particular BL. However, I still have issues with the shoujo romance demographic that I need to talk about. The main faults that I find within shoujo, especially under the miscommunication trope, is the way that characters interact and have jagged edges of behavior that feel out of place in the story. This is mostly rooted in the actual romantic partners in these romances. So first, let's talk about the individuals. Individually, in shoujo such as Love Me Love Me Not, there tends to be moments where characters just fall in love. Not a moment, there's not a moment of them suddenly revealing their feelings that have been hinted at earlier in the series. No, they're just in love. This ends up being mostly in the main couple. The second couple usually gets hinted at or are already dating. And the reason one of the characters fall in love is some really arbitrary reason. Like in Love Me Love Me Not, it's because the male love interest is very princely looking. And that's it. And while that can work for some people, it's not the type of thing that works for me personally. It feels very superficial and is always a really sudden infatuation with no build. Now, I'll mention this later when talking about the characters, but My Love Mix-Up has a more steady and natural progression of romance, particularly in Ida. But fuck it, even Aoki falling for Ida feels natural. Ignoring gender, which this series specifically does, Aoki just falls for Ida because Ida is a great guy and continues to prove that to Aoki by just being himself. It feels natural despite the scenario. Then is the way they attack the whole couple dynamic, as most, if not all, romances have a second couple in some form. However, in a typical romance, there is 3 main ways a second couple is portrayed. 1, they have an off-screen romance that is suddenly revealed in the middle or end of the story. 2, the story intertwines with the main story, taking a sidecar to the main story but having their own chapters and moments that increase in volume as the series progresses. 3, there's a whole separate arc in the latter portion of the series where the B couple suddenly becomes the A couple, and the A couple is the B couple. The second option is where My Love Mix-Up falls into. However, where most romances will increase the second couple storyline as the story continues and there's less drama or cute moments to be had for the main couple. My Love Mix-Up, on the other hand, keeps Ida and Hashimoto's relationship pretty consistently few throughout the series, with a maximum of 1 chapter dedicated to them per volume. Their role is almost purely supportive, and while they do piss me off, nothing compared to other series who do this format way worse. And this is where I wanted to vent about Love Me Love Me Not, because that the third option was very clearly Love Me Love Me Not. The second couple plays support for the first half of the series, then when the couple ends up together, the main couple, we have a sudden shift to couple 2 for the rest of the series, and it essentially restarts from scratch in a really frustrating move, as we're not invested in couple 1 only for them to now be couple 2 and have significantly less screen time. Of course, they're still there, but we see them support couple 2 and we see their perspective as couple 2 to support couple 2. Now it's couple 2's time to shine, and the story is really no longer about couple 1. I would also suggest that Ao Horerai does this dynamic, but it's been a while since I have read it, and I don't recall this happening. I actually more recalled drama between Ko and Futaba about one of Ko's exes. I can't remember fully. Then is the main difference that slots My Love Mix-Up as a softer romance BL than most BLs that I have read, which is the topic of sexuality. Now, I don't mean the spicy scenes that present themselves in many BL of the plastic wrapped variety. I mean more in the concept of being anything other than heterosexual. A lot of BL is very sexually charged in a literal but thematic way as well. There are topics of forbidden love and the protagonists freaking the fuck out that they're in love with another man and then taking it out on said man as well. Now, there are definitely more series nowadays that don't care about gender and that sort of stuff. And My Love Mix-Up is definitely one of them. But there are also series like Love Stage, Crossed by Love, and even to an extent Dekoboko Sugar Days and Go For It Nakamura that have an element on focusing on the protagonist's sexuality. Even How Do We Relationship, which is a Yuri manga, does it a little bit. And like thinking about the love interest sexuality, that makes sense as we usually don't see their perspective. It's why I praise the series where the protagonist either already knows or has a hint of knowing their own sexuality or doesn't really care who they are dating. The Moon on a Rainy Night does it well, as does Escape Journey. For as much as I hate that series, this bit in love fumbling about one's sexuality is best seen in the 18+ novels, but does have its claws into the lesser so. My Love Mix-Up avoids this by making it more subtle and only really affecting Aoki overall. Aoki doesn't question why he's falling in love with a man, he's questioning why he's falling in love with Hashimoto's crush Ida. It's more about the person rather than the concept of him loving a man too. Sure, Aoki has some internalized homophobia, preferring if only him, Ida, Hashimoto, and Ida know in fear of being teased, but not for 1 second does Aoki blame anything on Ida, other than when he tells the volleyball team that he's dating Aoki. Nor is he disgusted or conflicted with himself about his sexuality. It's implied but not explicit, which, while it's not a new concept, is something that I feel is really beneficial to the story, and the idea that someone can date anyone they want becomes normal. The story is treated like any other romance, and it really feels like any other romance, while still technically being BL. Now, on a separate note, while I did allude to it earlier, I really do love it when the main characters in romance are made fun of and have ugly panels to end this off on a light note, especially to emphasize the absurdity and melodramatic nature of the characters, which is why I like Kaguya-sama Love is War so much. My Love Mix-Up does this and plays it up with Aoki specifically in his dynamic with Ida. Ida is essentially the straight man in this scenario for the most part. Yes, that is a pun. No, that does not say a whole lot about Aoki as a character, as Ida is still an incompetent idiot. And it's just an added character trait that is refreshing in romance. BL and shoujo protagonists tend to stay pristine and like beautiful, maybe being in the feels a little bit, but never with this level or amount of slapstick humor where there is more than like a needle drop type pause that either cheapifies or wipes the character visually of any features when hitting a hard joke. Seeing as I am criticizing the characterizations of characters in drama, romances, comedy BLs, and the such, I should probably move into... So, for my next fucking essay, I'm going to be talking about why I like these characters so much, while also being critical of them. Aoki specifically, there is definitely some sort of word vomit of I just love this character. Can't really describe why I love them in this, I will say that. And then absolutely going in on why they are flawed and how they could definitely be better. So just hang tight while I do talk about this and each character, what I love about them, what I hate, and this is just around the main four, of course. So starting with our protagonist of Aoki, he's the perfect blend of comedic, relatable, heartwarming, and, well, mostly comedic. Aoki is a character who gets the brunt of the comedy panels in this series. Also, I was not kidding when I said Aoki just falls in love with anyone with enough words of affirmation and care. Aoki is honestly a dope throughout this, and it is something that I love about his character. His dynamic with Ida is honestly the overthinking drama queen with no thoughts and a very kind heart, accidentally the most amazing guy fucking ever. I know that's specifically Aoki then Ida, but it could honestly be either at this point. AK being teased and teasing, so Aoki Ida. Aoki as a whole is a very cute character. As I said, I love how dopey he can be. His dramatic and lovey-dovey side is super adorable, and it's played super well with the comedic imagery and the overdone amount of reactions of Aoki. Aoki's suffering is definitely something to enjoy, which is definitely a sentence. And particularly the visual gags in chapter 8 stand as a highlight above the rest for me personally in volume 2. And I just love Aoki's interactions with his friends, especially his friendship with Hashimoto. For a boy initially in love with Hashimoto, Aoki bounces off Hashimoto really well, and the dynamic is something that I crave in these kinds of stories. I'll mention this more with Hashimoto, but Aoki speaks the clearest and comes clean the most with the women in this series, especially Hashimoto. So when talking to Hashimoto, they feel like real proper friends and not just classmates, which is something I find very refreshing in romantic comedies. And speaking of refreshing in romantic comedies, Aoki's growth in this series is absolutely fantastic. Now, I do have my gripes with it. Obviously, this is a partial character analysis. I have my problems with Aoki's character. Past volume 6, Aoki can be quite frustrating as his character arc has technically ended, and sort of just cycles very frustratingly from volumes 6 to 9. However, the first few volumes of growth for Aoki is fantastic. He goes from a bumbling idiot who refuses to tell the truth about the scenario that he has ended up in and is forced to say it by his equally idiotic best friend, to an actually capable character who listens and talks to his partner. It's honestly great watching him fall head over heels for Ida. Obviously entertaining, and most of all, he's a likable, funny protagonist, which I find is so important in these stories. And I will say, that's all from the perspective of someone who has read this at least twice. On first read, he can be more frustrating than redeemable at some points. But on second read, the humor of Aoki definitely shines through. The one thing you can't take away from Aoki is his overdramatic nature and his tendency to jump to conclusions. As I said, on first read, he appears more frustrating than funny at some points. Miscommunication will still find its way into the end of the story, mainly from Aoki not listening or assuming how people will approach him. It ends up with some really cringy scenes, like when Aoki confronts Ida's mum about their relationship because he thinks that she does not like him, where he could have just asked Ida, but that is not as bad as straight up not listening to Ida and jumping to conclusions. In the beginning, he takes one step forward and about 10 steps back. In the end, he's open to communication and takes his thought process a little bit slower than he initially would. Of course, the cycle of this occurring over and over again does change throughout the series, being less impactful than it was at the start of the series, but does still happen from time to time. By that, I mean the ongoing occurrence of him jumping to conclusions, making scenes and starting arguments because he does not listen to people, while still happening towards the end of the series, does not happen on as grand a scale as it does like at the start of the series, like with how the series fucking started. Aoki is also loyal to a fault, which is how he got into this situation in the first place. Sure, this ends up well for Aoki, but Aoki can be too generous to the point where it affects his life. Case in point, homophobia, and Aoki's internalized homophobia. Chapter 14, Volume 4, Aoki bans Ida from telling anyone they're dating because he is too worried it will cause people to make fun of Ida. Sure it is, babe. When he finds out Ida has told the volleyball team, he breaks up with Ida immediately. Chapter 14 and 15 are dedicated to this conflict, and Ida is still not allowed to tell his family about his boyfriend until chapter 32, when Aoki essentially tells Ida's parents himself. Truly, while Aoki thinks he's doing it to protect his boyfriend, it's Aoki who's truly worried about being teased and possibly rejected, which is understandable. Okuno literally starts being prejudiced to Aoki when he finds out he's in the relationship with a man. But with Aoki thinking that he's doing these grand gestures for someone other than himself, it ends up being really messy. This sort of happens with Ida sorting out the miscommunication for Aoki in the first 2 volumes. Aoki can't really bring himself to tell Ida that he actually did like Ida, despite how the misunderstanding started, in fear that Ida will be weirded out. So he does what he feels is best for everybody but him, and says that it was just a misunderstanding and purposefully omits information. When Okuno does get rude around Aoki, Aoki sacrifices his happiness and takes the poor treatment from Okuno because he still wants to be able to talk to Okuno normally, which obviously won't happen. For this being Aoki's first relationship with a guy, it's understandable that he is nervous, but his unwavering loyalty to people and sacrificing his happiness because of it faults Aoki as a character, and personally frustrates me because you've also got the lack of communication included. Now, when I say fault him as a character, I'm not saying he's a faulty character. I'm saying that now when I say faults, I don't mean he's a bad character for having internalized homophobia. I'm saying it because it's at the detriment of himself that he does this, especially being loyal to people who are not loyal to him. And it is frustrating as a reader to read about. Doesn't necessarily make him a bad character. It's just that kind of hits home. And that's what makes it personally frustrating as a reader to see, especially when he cycles around, because it's not always about people finding out about him and Ida's relationship. It is, like, in part just Aoki overreacting to shit, but this is one of the points that does happen where it will be him freaking out about people knowing about him and Ida's relationship, which, again, is understandable to Aoki's situation, but also is frustrating as a reader. Especially as an audience member, this all ends up being frustrating as we are reading as Aoki, where we think he grows, he doesn't particularly. As summarized earlier, Aoki's confrontations to Ida or characters around Ida are cyclic, even if the severity is brought down throughout the story from breakup worthy to a simple misunderstanding. It still ends up being frustrating as it feels like Aoki doesn't move forward. By the time he and Ida are going into their final exams. He stagnates. It's all samey for his character, and I only really take issue with this as in the later volume of volume 7, it solely feels like a transitional volume and ends up being rather disappointing as we switch from Aoki's character arc to Ida's. I'm left feeling quite empty because Aoki is still pulling the same shit he has done since the first volume. Only this time it's more so internalized homophobia and not overtly affected by other characters surrounding him. It's his issues, and now being more open to communicating with Ida, the blow is lessened. It is Aoki understanding himself and having a rough time doing it. I've been there, babes, done that, completely understand, but the fact that it keeps happening in a cycle over and over and over again throughout the series pisses me off. This kind of behavior is clearly ingrained in Aoki. His growth in the first half is great. It's erratic and throws you around, creating the perfect drama for the start of the series. His inner turmoil clearly steers his behaviors, and it makes sense as to why he jumps to conclusions. But by the time we finish, he's been through that same cycle 6 or 7 times. at least once per volume, and it makes less and less sense as to why Aoki is lashing out or not asking questions and just jumping to conclusions, making the scenes more boring and tired. I will, however, give the series its props. This stagnation of Aoki's character opens up the story to Ida's late stage character change and keeps the story flowing, even if you do get frustrated at our protagonist like I did. The actions of Aoki aren't necessarily the problem, it's just the fact that it's continuously cyclic over the course of the entire series, and it's practically the same 3 problems over and over again, whether it be people finding out about Aoki's relationship, Aoki is fucked up and he doesn't know how to fix it, or the last one more so being Aoki has an issue and he won't talk about it for the sake of everybody else. That is my main problem with Aoki, is that he doesn't fucking talk, and by the end we are supposed to understand that he's supposed to be fucking talking to his boyfriend. While Aoki tends to stagnate with his behavior after working to get Ida's presence. While Aoki tends to stagnate in his behavior after working to get Ida's present, with a lot of his behaviors being the same within the last few volumes, the growth for Aoki is then switched out for a sudden interest in Ida and Ida's sudden growth and change in character. From being more chilled out and nearly icy in the first 2 volumes, we see Ida slowly unravel throughout the series. This really starting to escalate around the time Aoki gets a job. This is evident by the amount of goofy panels that Ida gets in volumes 8 and 9 versus volumes 1 or 2. His gags in the beginning in the story are more shock-based and often representative of the quiet type characters like Mori-senpai from Ouran High School Host Club. However, as he progresses, he gets more and more Hashimoto or Ida type or like comedy panels, and he's drawn a lot rounder for moments of goofiness, and he's generally just more expressive, especially when we see things from his perspective as compared to the first couple of chapters where we hear a lot of talk but do not see a lot of walk. This is a major signifier not only for Ida's growth as a character to open up to Aoki, but it's Aoki being able to read Ida's emotions easier. With the exception of Ida also falling head over heels for Aoki, Ida acts in practically the exact same manner from the start to the end of the book, or the story should I say. It's just that us, from Aoki's perspective, are able to actually read Ida and his emotions better because Aoki is finally able to. Put it this way, Shun, Ida's best friend, knows exactly how to read Ida because they are best friends. When we see Ida from Shun's perspective during the mini theaters in I believe volume 7, it's almost the same way Aoki can now see Ida. It's not because they're younger, but because of their relationship. That's not to say Ida didn't grow as a character. He did, he definitely did. He is in fact generally more erratic as compared to the beginning because Aoki is overall erratic and sometimes you need to match your partner's energy. But he's also a lot bolder as he realizes his love for Aoki. Love also changes a man. This sudden erratic behavior by Ida births new interest in the story. As we've witnessed Aoki's outlandish nature throughout the series, we've watched it mellow as Aoki's grown. But seeing Ida essentially do the opposite and suddenly become on edge and possessive over Aoki is something refreshing for this initially stiff character, with the seeds of this behavior being found in Ida's uncertainty of his feelings with Aoki at the very start of the story. When Ida finally starts to act on his feelings and suddenly he gets visibly jealous, he acts before he thinks, and when he gets his way, he's a lot more chummy and is visually pleased. We as an audience have a renewed interest in the series, and it adds another emotional level to the late stage of this story, something that doesn't present itself in other shoujo. For example, comparing it to shoujo romances like Love Me Not, because I keep confusing the fucking names so often. I've had to cut out so many times where I've said Love Me Not by accident. The attempting to develop a second character, or rather second couple, causes stagnancy in the series, as we've already seen the same shit go down with the main couple in the first 5 volumes of 12. Attempting to develop a second couple cripples the series as we're less invested in them. Their original purpose was helping our protagonists get together, and we don't see a lot of growth of them together in the first couple story. It's like starting from scratch with the second couple, essentially, which completely halts the story and causes a drop-off in interest in these characters, as we want to see the characters we initially got invested in for the series. And then if drama starts with the first couple again, it's no longer engaging, it's more so frustrating, because since it's now couple 2's storyline, the main couple have become side characters, and we're just suddenly in a feedback loop of we don't want to see these characters, we want to see the ones we got invested in. My Love Mix-Up does sort of the opposite. It drops off the interest of Aoki as it's picking up the interest of Ida. They cross over, not stop-start. We technically see Ida go through the same stuff as Aoki, but it is set up early enough to make sense to his character. We see hints that Ida has feelings for Aoki as early as volume 1. So this slow burn to suddenly being extremely red hot when it comes to how his feelings and how he feels for Aoki also feels natural. Think of the phrase, I fell in love with you slowly and then all at once. That's not to say there's nothing frustrating about Ida as a character. Much like Aoki, Ida is incredibly blunt and does not elaborate on his feelings, leading to miscommunication, or he just flat out refuses to tell Aoki his feelings. It is also incredibly frustrating. This especially so in the chapter where Aoki ignores Ida because he's wrapped up in his own shit. While yes, it's incredibly relatable and understandable that Ida would react this way, his refusal to talk to Aoki pisses me off a little bit. The same way that it does when Aoki does it. It just so happens to be a lot more prominent when Ida brushes off Aoki instead of Aoki being brushed off than Ida, because Ida doesn't often push aside Aoki's feelings for his own, unlike Aoki. Granted, this isn't as much as Aoki and is only really in 2 chapters as a whole. Ida as a character is extremely well crafted, especially as a love interest, as it's Aoki who's essentially creating the drama and Ida trying to fix it. And his slow descent into love with Aoki, followed by a hurricane of emotions, really benefits the series. He's understanding, but doesn't bend to Aoki's well. To be fair, that whole Love Me Not comparison wasn't exactly fair to compare directly to Ida, as it's definitely a better comparison for the likes of Ida and Hashimoto and their relationship, because in My Love Mix-Up, they are the second couple. Okay. And their relationship personally is handled better in My Love Mix-Up, because while they do get their own plotline, the main difference is that Hashimoto and Ida are the true B plot to My Love Mix-Up, and not the B plot to suddenly they're their A plot. And most of their flaws happen both individually and simultaneously when they are in the background of the A plot, which is what I'm gonna get into because they're so fucking frustrating as a duo. Truly, Ida and Hashimoto are their most frustrating when their romance plot intervenes usually within the A plot. Their relationship arc is in line essentially with Ida and Aoki's, as it is in the most parts miscommunication that they do also have to overcome, but sometimes it feels like they don't. But sometimes it just feels like they don't, and they're not putting effort in. And much like my gripes with Aoki, it feels like we are going in circles with these two, especially with their demeanour as side characters in the latter portion of the series. Put it this way, the way their relationship is approached when it is a one-on-one chapter with just Ida and Hashimoto, like the ones in volume 7 and 8, is honestly very cute and is really funny and actually shows their personalities properly. Definitely more so than in their final A-plot chapters together. Their main pitfall together is their characters are being stripped to their most basic forms in the A-plot of the story after they begin their relationship. I would say it's borderline flanderization, but they're not stripped off in their own personal chapters or when they're alone. It's pretty much just when they are interacting with Ida and Aoki or are in chapters that are dedicated to Ida and Aoki's struggles that they are the more cartoony versions of themselves, but they do still have moments of being actual proper characters, so I can't really say that they've been flanderized. And if you don't know what that is, I would recommend just looking it up and looking it up on YouTube as well. This way, when they're suddenly together, they are constantly at each other's throats. More so Mio at Hayato than vice versa, but it's in the same essence. They are worse together when involved in the A-plot. They're like an old married couple who hate each other but wouldn't consider divorce. And so when Mio actually breaks up with Ida and he finally gets his shit together, it's a great reset of their actual characters. Even if I disliked that particular chapter because it's Ida at his literal worst, I respect that there is change in their characters. Of course, I do emphasize that in the personal chapters, they are exhibiting growth as they are the main characters in those chapters. But their solo chapter personalities and actions rarely match up with their actual A-plot side character actions, which creates these really jagged characters. They're not the same with Ida and Aoki as they are alone. And I don't mean that in the sense of you are not the same person with your friends as you are compared alone. I mean that they feel like completely different freaking characters when they are in the background of Ida and Aoki's chapters than when they are together. And when I say background, I mean that loosely. I mean if they are just in the same chapters as Ida and Aoki. That being said, let's divide and conquer with these characters, starting off with Ida. Now, why do I hate Ida so much? I'm going to keep this as brief as I can, because I have so much that I want to say about Hashimoto and the female characters of this series that I don't really want to take too much time on him. I don't like him. To give him the benefit of the doubt, he's funny in chapter 28 as well as being Aoki's lackey, and I like him generally as an idiot. However, the way he's depicted and his attitude towards his relationships with not only Mio but Aoki is frustrating and personally outweighs his value as a comedic side character. For example, in volume 2, before he's aware that Aoki does in fact like Ida, he says a bunch of unnecessarily cruel things about his own friend. Now, contextually, he doesn't know. We do, and so does Mio. So obviously, he's not overtly a jerk on purpose, and we are supposed to think he's an ass for saying those things because we know the truth. But by the way he basically calls Aoki a pest in passing to Mio comes off as apathetic and asshole-ish. Now, I know that's the point, and his whole little thing about Aoki being a bother to other people is pretty much what my whole thing was with Aoki, that Aoki thinks he is a bother to other people, so he tries not to be, and that just lands him in more shit for himself. That is the point. Ida is supposed to be saying these asshole-ish things so Mio can punch him. He doesn't know, and he does apologize to Aoki. that would be all fine and good if that initial approach to how Aoki made trouble was not how he practically approaches everything. With distance, a cool tone, and not particularly thinking about the consequences of what he is saying. Really doing or saying before he thinks, and doing it in such a laid-back way that makes him feel ingenuine in a romantic setting. Not only that, but as I said, he's much more of an idiot than Aoki is, so he's extremely dense and jumps to conclusions often. It's a literal gag in the story, aka his little Sherlock Holmes thing that he's got going on. My least favorite chapter is the one where he and Hashimoto get together and then break up because he brushes her affection off. What a fucking cockhead. On top of that, because he's so laid back in relationships, the sudden switch off of him actually being in love with Hashimoto suddenly doesn't make a whole lot of sense. In that essence, I mean, there is not many or any hints outside of that dedicated Ida and Hashimoto chapters that hint at Ida having any affection towards Hashimoto. When in the opposite case, the literal catalyst to the series is the first instance we see of Hashimoto liking Ida, and she keeps hinting that she's like, I got to spend time with him, all that sort of stuff. We have a very intimate understanding of how much Hashimoto likes Ida. And on the inverse, we practically have nothing for how much Ida likes Hashimoto. So the claim that Aoki fucking makes that he likes her more feels like bullshit. Ida has done nothing to display that he's had any sort of like or love for Hashimoto outside of friendship, so his growth is extremely stagnant the entire story. That is why I describe him as a mob-like character, because I feel like there's not a whole lot of point to him other than to be a love interest to Hashimoto and a friend to Aoki, which he also doesn't feel like a friend to Aoki half the time. He is a constant caricature of himself, and he brings that into his relationship with Hashimoto before he's just suddenly switched up, which just makes him frustrating and a boring character to read other than one or two gags that I might like. His girlfriend, however, I love and adore. I too, on first read, was absolutely stunned at who the fuck Hashimoto actually had a crush on. There are so many things that I like about Hashimoto. The fact that she's a really funny side character, her dynamic with Aoki, it being a healthy male-female friendship is so funny, especially since it is like 99% platonic. The timing of her comedy, it is everything that I have been asking for from a female main side character in many shoujo rom-coms, especially since she's not an over-dramatized caricature in the beginning and end of the story. We'll talk about the middle in a minute, but I love her as a dramatic and comedic character, and her being not only such a mentally hard-headed character, but also a physically strong one despite her appearance. But the thing that I love the most about Hashimoto is how her position as a female rival is turned on her on its head within one chapter, or rather, she's a subversion of the expectation as a female rival. Ex-female rival, if you will. So that being said, what exactly is Hashimoto's role as a character? Hashimoto as a character starts off technically being the female rival of Aoki, as well as being the female friend of Aoki, and also the initial crush of Aoki. She is truly Aoki's world. Truthfully, she's not actually a rival to Aoki at all. Obviously, she's immediately assumed to be in love with Ida in the first chapter of the first volume, and when Aoki is falling in love with Ida, she's then the rival, but that's only in one volume, and even then, it was a complete misunderstanding. She's really just the female best friend, and that is often a trope that can be villainized in many shoujo and BL alike, especially shoujo. Theoretically, if she was in any other series and she is the shoujo female best friend of the main male character, I'm starting to think this is going down into harem territory. But I could see in other series Hashimoto falling in love with Aoki or Ida regardless on her crush on Ida, ending up being the love rival regardless, her character then turning her heel on her morals, and she's then turned into a weapon of the plot and tries to split up the main couple, but the main love interest, probably Aoki, telling her that he ends up feeling the same way as her, to who he loves, probably Ida, which he kind of did in chapter 5. They sort of just burned up through that entire plot point within a single chapter, and then like in the same vein, if she was the love rival in a BL, something similar would happen, and then depending on the author, maybe a little bit of homophobia is sprinkled in. At least that is the caricature that the fandom of these types of stories turn rivals into. But in reality, that is not Hashimoto, and I'm so glad that is not Hashimoto. She is not the love rival, nor is she a love interest. Not villainized, and is overall supportive and supported, and that is something that is incredibly refreshing to see in these stories, is that she is also supported. Hashimoto is immediately welcoming and loving towards Aoki when he says he has a crush on a guy, and to be fair, so does Ida. They bounce off each other so well. She's genuinely a genuine friend of Aoki, and the Aoki Hashimoto dynamic is something that I fucking crave in comedies and rom-coms, as I have said multiple times. She's honestly one of my favorite characters and is a breath of fresh air in genre that usually makes the other woman out to be a villain. In fact, Hashimoto isn't the only one who really gets this treatment. Out of 3 notable female characters in this series, Hashimoto, Kokoro, and Sainoji, all 3 at some point are portrayed as a potential rival, even if it's just as a joke. Hashimoto is obviously a unique case, but in the likes of Kokoro, she is first appearing as Aoki's rival. Sainoji is Ida's to a degree. However, they're not really rivals in the first place. Miscommunication and assumption at its finest. Of course, Kokoro does actually go on to have a date with Ida, but Ida is perceptive enough to know that that actually means nothing and actually helps Kokoro with her boy troubles. And Sainoji is not really ever interested in Aoki at all. It's only Ida's perception during the time where he is starting to have jealousy issues. But what I love is that they aren't villainized as characters for being a potential rival. They're supported and communicated with. The women in this story aren't the enemy. And that is what is so fucking important to me in queer stories. Also, I just absolutely fucking adore Wingwoman Hashimoto, as she is the absolute fucking best. But having said of what I like and love from Hashimoto leads me onto what I truly dislike about Hashimoto, and that is how she is flattened during the middle of the story and is just a joke or caricature of herself to a degree. Now, immediately, as I said, I emphasize their personal chapters as exhibiting growth, as they are the main characters of those chapters, but Ida and Hashimoto's personal chapters, personalities, and actions rarely match up with their A-plot side character actions, which creates jagged characters, as I said before. In the end of the story and the latter of her and Ida's dedicated chapters, she is a semi-thought-out character, a teenage girl in love with complicated feelings as she knows the person she loves doesn't love her as much as she loves him. However, through the duration of the series, there is one trait that keeps coming up and is used as a comedic device that doesn't really feel funny anymore, so it ends up being annoying with Hashimoto. This being the over-emotional, insecure girlfriend who immediately gets pissed off that her boyfriend makes any joke of their relationship being anything but perfect. This, coupled with the cutesy to roid rage induced character a la Agretsuko, pisses me off. Now, I know I said I like the fact that she's hard-headed and also physically strong. By herself, before she starts dating Ida, that's fine, but this coupled with the, like, my boyfriend is saying shit about me thing going on with Hashimoto is actually, like, so brain-numbingly annoying. It's like, just, I hate both of these tropes so much, especially when it coupled together in one person. Like, you dodged a really fucking annoying trope of a female rival who's often made the bad guy to only then dive headfirst into another more annoying trope. Not even to mention that in the Ida and Hashimoto chapters, this particular element of Hashimoto is never not made fun of. That she's touchy, over emotional, and has gorilla strength. All emphasized when Ida meets her family, and suddenly Hashimoto is a normal character because her parents are a caricature of her. With this being how Hashimoto and Ida's relationship gets presented within the A-plot of Ida and Aoki, of course, this adds some additional hate personally to their ship as a reader, and how they get perceived more negatively as characters, which does also bring me into. Okay, hello, I'm back. I've got more to add to this. I've got more to add to this section. So I kind of really hate the second pairing. In general, I don't tend to like the second couples solely because it's too much time spent away from our main duo. Like, come on, fanfiction exists for a reason. But in stories like Love Me, Love Me Not or I'll How to Ride, the second couple has chemistry. So it feels more natural for them to end up together, and you want them to end up together in the story, and it's seen within the main plot line of the story. Main plotline. Ida and Hashimoto do not have this chemistry, and it does not appear in the main plotline. We see Hashimoto pining. We do not see anything from Ida. Legitimately, Hashimoto is doing the heavy lifting for their, like, emotion load, then followed by Aoki. Ida is not in that equation. It's Hashimoto and Aoki for Ida and Hashimoto's relationship. Ida is really kind of a shit love interest for Hashimoto. Is this biased because I genuinely couldn't connect with Ida on 2 reads of the full series, 3 or 4 reads of the first 2 volumes? Yes, but generally Ida does not tend to appreciate Hashimoto, and with their relationship starting with Ida not being interested in Hashimoto, that theme kind of continues for the entirety of their relationship, as that's really Ida's main character trait, that he doesn't particularly care, that he's very chilled out. I think it's a joke in the actual, like, manga itself that Ida is very, like, dense, very relaxed about things that he should stress more about. And it's so frustrating that Hashimoto is insistent on going after him. It's just not a match, personally, of 2 characters that I would have made, which is what makes Hashimoto's initial confession that her crush is Ida more shocking, because as I mentioned earlier, Ida is very much a mob style character, meaning that he's just there to be Aoki's friend, and that's it. So to attempt to give him more depth is a bit strange and plays awkwardly. So I do love, or in their relationship, I do love the hairdressing bit. That was personally fucking hilarious, especially since their relationship essentially starts with him getting decked in the face. But an entire relationship developed in a story just for laughs isn't a great relationship, especially when it is 2 side characters, and the main 2 side characters, especially one who is the catalyst for the series as a whole. It's incredibly frustrating, and it's why I don't feel like this couple works, because it's there to finish off the character arcs and to make them more compelling characters, but I actually feel like if Hashimoto had gotten over her crush on Ida, that would have been slightly more interesting. But she's so insistent on going after Ida, and I don't understand why. That being said, that's all I really have to say on this ship and the characters. Let's go back to the regular filming space. Okay, so the end of this video needs to be recorded like this because I am really tired. Just a very mini little update. I have a very apparently malfunctioning thyroid, so I have to take medication, but because of that I have extreme fatigue, and so doing stuff is really difficult. So setting up all of that after today is not possible for me. But I gotta end this video, and I wanted to end this in a video specifically. And now you get to see my little cat, who's been very stressed because of Trixie, our new dog. Or should I say my brother's dog. Trixie is my brother's dog, the same way Maple is my cat. Now that I have vented, and this script is nearing 20 pages as a whole, I can definitely say, read My Love Mix-Up. She agrees. It's honestly really cute, especially in the aspects of it being a good queer romance, and I think that's the most important part to why this series is so good. Would it be that good if it were any straight couple instead of Ida and Aoki? Say if Hashimoto and Ida were put in the same position? No, it would kind of just be another shoujo with a not super interesting concept. But because it's a mix-up and the main pair is MLM, it benefits the series. Gay couples need more regular, fluffy romances, especially for gay men. Even if the concept isn't spectacular, the fact that they're gay makes it so. 100% I'd recommend My Love Mix-Up. It can start off pretty rough, and I can understand if it's not your thing specifically, seeing as it is super similar to other shoujos who pull up the concept more efficiently than My Love Mix-Up, but it's something new and needed in the BL sphere specifically. So, if you do see a peculiar looking shoujo where the main characters and main love interest is a man, I'd highly recommend picking it up. That being said, if you have read My Love Mix-Up, what do you guys think of the series? I would very much like to know. Will you seek it out after watching this video? What's your favorite BL shoujo? I would love to hear recommendations down in the comments down below, because obviously this is one of my favorite BL and shoujo series. Now that I've completed the series, I'm actually going to move My Love Mix-Up up onto the shelf above because it's like taking up space on my manga shelves. Let me know all this information in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you did like the video. Despite me cutting between different sections, have actually put a lot of effort into this video. I spent several hours during work writing this up. Don't tell my boss. Definitely didn't spend hours on the work computer writing the script up. Anyway, if you guys like this video, please let me know in the comments down below. What's your favorite shoujo? What's your favorite BL? I would love to hear some recommendations for some good BL. As you probably have suspected from this video, I've read some pretty shit stuff for a long time, and I really want some more cute BLs and some more cute shoujo romances. Preferably ones where they have likable female characters. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.